Is the stream on?
Yes, yes it is.
Alright.
Hello everybody, welcome to today's stream. Sorry, we've had some scheduling issues, which is why it had to be, well, pushed back. So, how's everybody doing today?
I'm half awake. How are you? How about you?
Let's see, my day's barely started. So, yeah, we've got some interesting things we're going to talk about today. And if you want to be part of the conversation, remember Super Chats is enabled. Simply drop a donation and we'll be more than happy to stop what we're doing and take a look at what you have to say. So anyways, I think we should get started with our first topic, which is, one moment please. We have something that's actually not news, but it's very interesting nonetheless, simply because of, well, we hear stories all the time, but I'll stop beating around the bush. Anti-speech campuses are feeling the effects of the free market.
Well, that's not surprising. I mean, especially considering that most of like the worst campuses are state-run campuses.
Well, they're all basically state-run in some aspects. Even the so-called private ones get huge amounts of government subsidies, and that's not even talking about the gigantic subsidy for universities that is
Yeah,
the federal guarantee of student loans.
and they're not even really like competing with the state because they're forced by law to publish the same curriculums.
Very much so. But what makes things interesting, at least in terms of how these universities are going about it, is that everybody remembers in 2014 or 2015, I think it was, in University of Mississippi, I think it was, more colloquially known as Mizzou. You have this protest going on in the campus, and that student reporter who was trying to document everything that's going on, and then one of the teachers, Melissa Click, that name will probably sound familiar, telling him, "Oh no, 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 you can't film here. You need to get out. You need
Yeah,
to
I'm pretty
leave."
sure everybody remembers that. I mean, because she specifically called for her students that she was doing the protest with to forcibly kick this other guy out, who was the student journalist who was just trying to document what they were doing, and she specifically referred to her students as muscle.
Hey, we
I
need
need
some
some
muscle
muscle.
over here.
Yeah, that's the part that, got it to stick because that's kind of freaking unreal.
Well, what happened afterwards is, well, this became a national sensation. I'm sure people who are
Oh
old enough
yeah,
to have been paying attention during that time will almost certainly remember it.
social justice has gotten way fucking worse since then. In fact, that's relatively tame compared to some of the stuff that we're seeing coming out nowadays. I mean, the state they really cranked up the shit switch on what they're making these people do. Because as I pointed out, the politicians, at least, they're all state actors. All political parties are state-run organizations, so all politicians necessarily, though, therefore, are acting within the same interests.
Very much so. But what ended up happening afterwards, after this Mizzou controversy, I believe it was referred to, you had you had students rallying around Melissa Click. You had the faculty refusing to do anything about it. But the people who did do something about it were prospective students and the families of students who simply refused to enroll their potential college students into that university, and they saw a significant decline in new enrollees. The same thing
Yeah, I can't
happened.
say I blame them.
Oh yeah, the same thing happened with Evergreen College. I'm sure everybody remembers that, where you had this teacher, this liberal progressive teacher. Like the guy was not by any measure a free market guy whatsoever, but he still like handled being accused, handled standing up to crazy students, just like an absolute boss. The context of the story is that they wanted that students and social justice warriors wanted to have a day where white students were just banned from faculty or banned from campus to highlight some sort of racist point. I actually don't know what point they're trying to share, but there you go. This professor, this liberal progressive professor, thought that it was just stupid. And of course, the students who were just absolutely hyped up on insanity decided to come after him and like call him like the worst thing ever.
Hyped up on Marxism.
Hyped up on Marxism, definitely. And so the teacher, for once, actually didn't do anything wrong. He was an absolute boss. You can see him just being calm, listening to everything that they were saying, making appropriate responses, doing everything that you would expect a sensible person to do. But what happened afterwards? It's like the campus came after him, the students came after the professor, whose name I don't recall off the top of my head. He deserves to have his name dropped simply because, well, he's earned it. But yeah, so what happened to Evergreen College is that, guess what? Their enrollees got killed as well. So now they're suffering the effects. And of course, it only makes sense that this would be happening, especially given that, well, the extent to which people are burdened with student loans nowadays is absolutely unreal. It's achieved meme status simply because of how overwhelmingly massive it is. To say nothing of, like, what are you getting for $500,000 in student loan debt? Any ideas?
I'm sure you know. Like I said, I'm half awake.
Well, you're getting essentially a worthless piece of paper. Now, just before we go any further, Logan Looker donated 99 cents, which is to say $1. He doesn't actually say anything, but yeah, thank you for the donation. Also, just now, I just checked the comments.
But yeah, the cost of these tuitions, that's entirely manufactured by the state. Because licensing, first of all, the only reason everyone even needs them is because of licensing laws. Granted, they would help quite a bit, seeking employment, speaking in a not hypothetically, but just a genuinely voluntarist society if you were seeking employment. And you didn't have a diploma, you'd have to prove that you could do the work some other way. It would still be relatively easy. But yeah, the only reason why diplomas are so valuable now is because of these monopolistic licensing laws, which only serve to benefit the politically connected and people who have enough money to pay for it. And so that the entire industry right there of colleges, student loans, that entire area of finance is just entirely built up by corporatism and state practices. It really is basically just a useless piece of paper, which in reality would only marginally help your chances of getting the job.
Yeah, just one other thing. Yeah, sorry to interrupt. One other thing before we continue. One guy, no plan ever. Oh crap, I lost it. He made a donation for $5. He says, "Yeah, He says, let's ban all the non-white students for a day if they want to ban white students for a day."
Oh shit!
I mean,
imagine a private school, because there's no way a state college would do that. But imagine like a private school doing that. Oh. The reaction.
Well, you know what? If they want, I think this is a pretty good idea. If persons of color want their safe spaces, if they want their special days, then they have to give the white students their safe spaces and their special days, and they have to do it all without calling them racist. If we can agree to that, then everything's gonna be fine.
Well, to clarify, in the current political climate, there's no way a state school would do that because, yeah, for a vast majority of American history, the state was enforcing laws which made it so non-white students couldn't go to the same schools as white students.
Oh yeah, and let's be honest here. This is just a retread to segregation, which is exactly the kind of thing that they might think that they're fighting for. Well, no,
Yeah,
most of them
you
were
look
just like I think most of them were in government schools, enamored by the heroism of Martin Luther King Jr. and the civil rights movement, and thinking that this is the new civil rights movement, even though they're fighting for the exact opposite of what they were.
wait a minute, eugenicist economic policy. Now you've got the same people who are advocating for these eugenicist economic policies telling black people that they should segregate themselves from white people. Hmm. I
I think I see
wonder
what's.
what's going on here. Something's going on. It's making my noggin jogging.
Hmm. Well, I have to say, if your plan was to secretly trick persons of color into supporting their own segregation and subjugation, I mean, you couldn't be doing a better job. At least I don't think so. But,
Okay,
but
I'm here.
anyways, welcome back, Azer.
Where
Anyways,
are we at?
we were just talking about segregation and how SJWs are being tricked into
Because
supporting their
yeah,
own subjugation and segregation.
minimum wage, house like rent control. These were all initially proposed as a way to try and make living conditions impossible for the lower classes, and they were devised as a eugenicist plot to basically turn the world like into a select few families.
Oh yeah. Wait till they hear about abortion.
Oh, they were already supporting abortion. I mean,
Oh, wait, learn about Planned Parenthood though.
oh, they're already coming out in support of Planned Parenthood.
But like the real reason why Planned Parenthood
I don't think they care. I think
they,
it's
they,
just
they
like they're so hyped up on, oh, it's my right to choose to kill my child.
it's my right to choose whether or not the black population can continue.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
I'm
don't.
sorry, that was
I
that really dumb.
You basically have an entire philosophy that's devoted entirely to tricking people into supporting not only their own subjugation, but to supporting their own genocide. That is impressive, actually.
It's fucking horrible, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it is very interesting to see that, and it's a very good showcase of just how powerful and just how intricate the statist machinations are.
Oh yeah.
The CIA and these intelligence agencies, like how well they've studied psychology and how how deeply they've manipulated the population.
Oh yeah. And to go back to an earlier point you were talking about, in terms of the cost of college tuition just skyrocketing, a big part of that I think is around 2010 or 2009, sometime around there, the federal government essentially nationalized the student loan industry in the sense that they guaranteed that all federal student loans are going to be paid for by the federal government. They had some program. I don't know if the numbers have changed since then, so I'm just going off of what I know off the top of my head. That in 20 years, the loan would be completely forgiven by the federal government, and in
Yeah,
10 years, if you worked for the government or in some government support or in some government approved non for profit, then it would be forgiven even quicker.
yeah,
Basically,
kind of like the healthcare industry, except there's never really been a point in American history where licensing laws weren't in effect to some extent. It's just that I mean, it's similar to healthcare in the sense that it's progressively gotten worse because the state just takes more and more control of over that industry. over that specific area of the market. Well, I mean, the only reason it is the industry it is, as mentioned earlier, is because of the state to begin, because of the state doing this. Sort of like, again, in healthcare, how insurance only exists because regulations um, intended intended to give like the original licensing laws and prescription laws made medicine so expensive most people couldn't afford it and most people didn't have access to it, so insurance had to become a thing.
Oh yeah. And the way, if I recall correctly, the way universities used to work is that you didn't enroll. You went there because the company you were working for sponsored you, and they would pay for your university education, and that was supposed to give you some very advanced, highly specialized skills that only a professional teaching institution like a university would be able to do. Like, you can't expect, say, Lowe's to have professors on retainer. That just wouldn't make sense. They had to get people to professionally train them to be able to do that. Essentially, universities were just specialized learning centers and effectively libraries and places of higher learning. But that's why people went to college. Nowadays, it's like everybody goes, and because the loans are guaranteed by the federal government, there's no risk to the universities that they'll never get their money, so they can jack up the prices as high as they want. If you get rid of these stupid licensing laws, allow anyone to open a university in their own garage, you would definitely see the price of tuition just plummet. To say nothing that I seriously do not think that the university system, as it stands, or as it exists, or even as it could exist, will remain standing. I just don't think that business model is going to be viable in an increasingly decentralized economy.
Well, most education will be done through apprenticeships.
I think also that's highly specialized learning that used to be only available in universities. Yeah, you can download those books off the internet. You can get people who are experts in their field to instruct you in this, either through online forums, discussion boards, instant messaging, or even just watching YouTube videos. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm a scholar, but yeah, I mean, I think I'm presenting some information that's useful to my audience.
Or uploading knowledge to your brain when we get the chance.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
I just now maybe universities might continue to exist in some legacy capacity. Maybe they actually will return to their roots as highly specialized job trainers meant to like train corporate executives or CEOs to learn a very highly advanced and very specialized set of skills that aren't easily trained on YouTube. I don't know, but I know that the best way to find out is we get a freaking free market for the freaking first time in human history since the freaking Mesopotamians.
Yeah, it'll be pretty great, and it's coming really soon, so
yeah, keep a watch out for that. So I think we should jump over to the next subject because we spent quite a bit of time on that, which is fine.
Yeah,
what is the next subject?
The next freaking.
I was going to say it's a Forbes article that says why getting off to anime porn is shorthand for supporting Donald Trump.
That's not the article I have opened on my browser. I'm just saying.
Oh wait, I'm on Twitter. Never mind.
What?
Well, it's apparently an actual article written by a woman named Lauren Orsini. I don't know how to pronounce that. Orsini.
I'm sorry. What?
That is late stage status propaganda right there.
That is. I don't even.
That is
I don't know
pure,
the connection.
That is just pure destruction of political discourse attempting to go on. That is written for people who are just fully in the orange man bad mode of discourse, and that's all that they can think of when formulating responses to anything.
Okay, so was the article we were going to talk about the one about the
No,
women being arrested for
we're gonna be talking. Sorry to interrupt,
yeah?
because we're just gonna be talking about how the CIA made Google.
Oh,
And so,
So it is my article.
yep, that's your
But
article.
no, they didn't necessarily make Google. I mean, Google was a startup, but you can like it was funded by a front group by the CIA known as InQtel. It was funded early on, the CIA started the front group in 1999. So early on, since then, they've been funding Google. And Google's also been funded by a private network operating as a bridge between the Pentagon and American elites outside the military, known as the Highlands Forum. And basically, Google for the past 20 years has come largely from the Pentagon and the CIA.
So I think what we have here is definitive proof that at least one of the big tech firms that everybody's so afraid of, that they're just appendages of the government.
Yeah, they're an arm of the state.
There actually no difference between Fannie Mae and Google. Both of them are essentially state-run businesses.
So when someone no wait, no, never mind. Sorry.
I mean,
Let's talk about something.
I guess, I was expecting to talk about this more, but I mean, yeah, I don't really know what else to say. Apparently, it's only really speculative that Google was an independent startup because DARPA was proposing something similar to Google since 1994.
DARPA. What's DARPA? It sounds familiar.
Oh, fuck, I can't remember what it stands for off the top of my head, but it's basically a lab run by the Pentagon, which they use to develop or experiment with military equipment, like new technology and stuff that's being it's being created by private contracted companies, but the state's testing it there.
Oh yeah, never mind. I was thinking of SOPA. That's something completely different. Never mind.
So basically, Area 51.
Yeah.
But it's safe to say that if anyone
I'm sure-
here is what?
Well, I'm sure, like, Area 51 is a facility which would be run by DARPA. Like, DARPA is it's a program, it's not a facility.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that in terms of experimental technology, DARPA is involved in it in the same way that Area 51 is a location where experimental technology is tested.
I agree with Donald Trump in the chat saying that we need to put his Panikin back into Hispanic.
Well, I mean, didn't Donald Trump already do that? I mean, you guys saw the reaction videos of Hillary's loss. Like, there's this one video of a guy who was just like immediately panicking, just like packing his bags. We gotta go to Canada now.
And very little has changed since 2016. I mean, things have gotten a little worse, but I mean, other than that.
I mean, I asked this yesterday. I don't remember who, but it's like, what has Donald Trump done in terms of gun control that either Hillary Clinton would not have done, or what would have Hillary Clinton done that Donald Trump has not done? Especially in terms of gun control.
Could you imagine how Trump's base would react if Obama said, "We need to confiscate the guns first and and then take them to court"?
That
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you already know how that would have gone. It just would have been an absolute firestorm. But suffice to say
Don't.
that what Donald Trump said to the NRA, who are fellow travelers in the field of taking people's guns and creating false confidence in gun owners.
Hey, Donald Trump, we're
Yeah,
training.
Sean Hannity would have been like, "But this is proof right here. You've heard it right here, ladies and gentlemen. Obama is a Marxist."
Yes. No, it would have been he's a fascist.
I would no idea what he would have said, but I was just trying to do a Sean Hannity impression. I don't really have the voice for it, but that was kind of how he talks. So
Well, typically
We need
what's
to ban guns to create job growth.
well, the way Sean Hannity speaks is he speaks in lists. So you need to have all your lists down and ready to say. So
I think probably out of everyone on Fox, I hate Sean Hannity the most, honestly. And the reason why is because he doesn't ever describe what the fuck he's talking about. He's almost as bad as like Bernie Sanders in this regard, where he describes whatever he's talking about in euphemisms. Like he references things in euphemisms. Like you don't even like if you were to watch the Hannity segment without actually having prior context, you would have no idea what the fuck he's talking about.
I personally find Tucker Carlson just because he's so infuriating. It's like, come on, you're almost there, you're almost there, you're almost there. No.
Tucker Carlson, I mean, you can at least understand what he's talking about. He does that. He still does that. Like he'll still talk in euphemisms, especially when he's talking about immigration. But he's not anywhere near as bad as Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity might just be a special kind of stupid. I've actually no idea how he ever got to be the #2 radio talk show host in the country. Is it just because he has a good time slot? I don't know.
This fucking dude messed up my message.
I don't know what else is there to say about Google. Everybody, if you aren't already doing it, switch your search engine to DuckDuckGo. It's as good as Google, except they aren't tracking you. And also use Brave browser. The only reason that I'm using Chrome is because I like to have different things I'm doing open on different browsers.
Same.
Yeah, I use Brave personally. In some of the screenshots I've taken of my desktop, you can see Brave on my taskbar. So
I tend to crop out the head bar for obvious reasons.
I sometimes use the taskbar to try because like if I'm trying to give a perspective of what time it is, like what I just posted earlier today on Gab of YouTube, manually removing subscribers by comparing it side by side. Like I took a screen cap of both Social Blade and my YouTube dashboard at the exact same time, and I put them side by side, so it was important there.
Alright. So anything else you want to say about Google effectively being confirmed government program?
Yeah, well, it doesn't surprise me, and fuck Google. Fuck you for arbitrarily removing my subscribers, I guess. Yeah, I mean, there's really not that much to go over here. That one was surprisingly straightforward.
I mean,
Is
one
Google
thing
subsidized by any chance?
is what?
Is Google subsidized by any chance?
Yes.
Yeah, I
That-
thought it. Yeah, I
They're
was like,
funded by the CIA and the Pentagon. That was what the segment we just did was. How? What?
I'm sorry. I'm just like,
You're out of it.
yeah. Sometimes I just get sidetracked in my own thoughts. I'm just like, oh shit, what are we talking about? I better not say something stupid.
Yeah, Google wouldn't have got off the ground if it wasn't for the CIA, basically.
And without the state, these institutions simply won't exist.
Oh yeah.
Well, they won't stay in business for very long, but you can be sure that as part of the propaganda machine, come the state's imminent collapse, that Google is going to be doing everything that they can to prop it up. Honestly, if I were to go back in time and change one thing, I would scream in the face of Google or YouTube's previous founder, "Don't sell to those assholes. You don't know what they're going to do to your platform. It's going to be
Well,
terrible."
considering that the CIA and the Pentagon, they helped fund Google. It probably would have turned out the exact same way, regardless of who was running the company.
I mean, YouTube specifically, though.
But without the government, who will help start a company that spies on millions of people?
Without the government, who would pour bleach on homeless people's food?
Without the government, who would burn kittens in labs to experiment with a brain-eating parasite, which, by the way, it came out recently that they're still fucking doing that.
What?
And
we called out that they were probably still doing it.
Yeah, it came out recently that the FDA is still doing that. It's just that they lied about it in 2013. It was exposed in some leaked classified documents that they're still apparently running that program.
I'm still convinced that is like a comic book cartoon villain evil. It's like it's the kind of thing that you could tell someone what they're doing and they would never believe you.
Yeah, it's like when people say, "I'll kick a kitten" to exaggerate. Like, if they're wrong, they'll say that. Like, if I'm wrong, then I'll kick a kitten. That's this. It's not something. It's just difficult to wrap my mind around. The state is actually that.
Damn, like that's they lie even more than Sean Murray.
If you were writing a cartoon and you had your villains doing this, it would be too unbelievable. It would just break everybody's suspension of disbelief.
You know what? I am thinking about doing a comic, and there should just be like a character who's been in America. I was like, yeah, I heard their government kills kittens in experimentation with a brain-eating virus. And then when people ask me, is that a real thing? I'll be like, yeah, it is.
Well, no, people just assume nah, that can't be real.
Which, for those of you who are watching the stream and aren't aware, since about 1983, the FDA has been they've created an isolated population of kittens somewhere. Don't know where the location is, but in a lab run by a different department of the government. Let me look this up real quick. Sorry, is the USDA's lab, and they've created an isolated population of cats which only live to breed, then are infected with a brain-eating parasite. They pass the parasite after a little while. Then then those kittens breed, and then they throw them in an incinerator.
I'm assuming alive. Right?
I hope not, but it could be either way.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is the kind of scumbaggery that's like. This is the kind of
considering
scumbaggery
what
that you would expect from the Nuremberg trials. I was just following orders.
On one hand, it might be an ethics thing, but on the other hand, it's supposed to be a classified experiment to begin with, and euthanasia costs a bit more, so it really could be either way. I could realistically see them probably throwing the kittens in alive.
Well, I mean, doesn't the Japanese kill the dolphins and whales and whatnot?
Yeah, this is a big part of the reason why I think
They do.
most government employees, but certainly all politicians are complete psychopaths. And because how do you live with yourself after doing that for years at a time?
I think the best way that they do it is that they disassociate.
Which is my point. You have to be a psychopath in order to either be a politician or an employee for the government, like working on these these classified programs.
It's the only the only way I can think of. Anyways, I think we should move on to the next topic.
Sure.
All right. Now, this is a story that I'm sure most of you have seen around. Basically, what's going on is that recently, like a few days ago, I don't remember the exact day, you have a March for Life or March for Our Lives rally in Washington, D.C.
Fuck.
March for Our Lives too.
Yeah, so what happened is that you had a whole bunch of people from all across the country marching and demonstrating that they support an unborn child's right to life and to not be murdered by abortion doctors. Basically, it was an anti-abortion rally. And so what ended up happening is
March for Life. I thought you said March for Our Lives.
I don't remember the name off the top of my head.
No, it's March for Life that you're thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other one.
All right, so it's March for Life. So what ended up happening is, I'm pretty sure you've seen the controversy on Twitter, if not talked about by other YouTubers. I know Stefan Molyneux did a video about this, where you had this one kid who apparently, you had this one like Native American who, like, there's a Native American social justice rally going on at the same time or something for some reason, and you had this whole group of students from a Catholic school in Kentucky, and they ended up confronting and harassing the Native Americans and hurling like racial epithets at them, chanting and mocking them. And you see this picture going around on Twitter of this like elderly Native American quote unquote veteran, and him just like being stared down by this kid with a smug grin on his face. And of course the whole controversy is just like, wow, look at this horrible racist white kid, and the kid's wearing a MAGA hat, so you know he's not going to be treated very sympathetically, especially on Twitter. And so what ends up happening is that this becomes this big national story. The Catholic school in the diocese of the area is forced to make apologies. The school district is actually threatening some of these kids with expulsion. And it's just this big whole thing. But it's recently come out that the story that's been going around on social media, in the mainstream media, is completely false for several reasons. For one thing, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. How many fucking times has this happened?
Like, all the time. I'm actually surprised
week.
when mainstream media comes out with a story that turns out to be true. I should actually stop citing them as a source from now on. I just realized that. Crap. But anyways, so what ended up actually happening is the students were just doing their own chants, and then like the Native American comes up to them beating a drum for some reason, probably trying to be obnoxious, goes up to their faces to try to, intimidate them, finds that it's simply not working, and then ends up like getting a bunch of his buddies to start playing music, and the students decide to like participate in the music. It wasn't meant to be mockery. It was just like, hey, these guys are playing music, we might as well go along with it instead of trying to fight it. More importantly, as it turns out, this Native American veteran, who is apparently a Vietnam War veteran, so that should immediately disavow him of any sympathy he should get for being a veteran, because boomers. And then it turns out like this guy is actually a professional victim. He's the kind of guy who goes around creates a controversy, tries to make himself the victim of racial attacks, both real and imagined, and then gets settlements.
Yeah, there are people who are actually making a living by doing this.
Oh yeah, I remember in 2012 or 2011 during the Republican primary, you had one of the Republican candidates for president actually was under attack by several professional victims who saying like, "Oh, he raped me," even though
yeah,
like
I
their stories
remember
didn't make any sense whatsoever. So yeah, their professional victims do exist, and it turns out like yeah, this guy, see if I can find his name, does turn out to have been a professional victim, or as it says in this article right here, an outrage culture grifter, which I think is a better term actually. The guy's name is Nathan Phillips, and he has a history of appearing in the press claiming to be a victim of anti-native racism. In 2015, he was claimed that he was bombarded by racial slurs by students at Eastern Michigan University. I would scroll down, but freaking hell. Sorry, did you say something?
Sounds about right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Apparently, in 2012, Phillips starred in a Skrillex video titled "Make It Bun Dem."
Oh yeah.
In which Phillips does some spiritual warfare connected to a violent attack on a police officer.
Wait. He was in that music video. Holy shit! I gotta take a look at this.
Yes. So this guy is not random. In fact, he even appears to be a former director of an organization called the Native Youth Alliance.
Oh, this is so weird. Oh my goodness, no.
Yeah, so I think this whole controversy is meant to accomplish. Like the more firestorm, the bigger the firestorm, the more egregious the apology from the Kentucky Cucklith school is going to be forced to make, and that apology is probably going to come in the form of hundreds of thousands of dollars in a settlement. So the fact of the matter is, like, this guy just probably ruined the lives of several students who are almost certainly going to be expelled, if not have their job opportunities and futures completely destroyed by a controversy that's definitely going to show up on any search results that any prospective employer might do when these guys show up for a job application. So
yeah,
suffice to say,
you mentioned that he was in a Skrillex song. I have my favorite Skrillex song.
It's Skrillex, niggers.
Probably shouldn't play that on stream, but
Hey,
It's not like we're getting monetized anyway. Fucking YouTube's gonna try and hide us in the algorithms like they always do.
fair
I've
enough.
had that happen in my stream before, and I'm still up.
Someone's gonna find this in someone's gonna find this in like 1 or 2 years. Just be like, look how racist they are. Yeah.
It's gonna be a right-wing watch.
Well, it's gonna be. Well, what's gonna? I think what's really gonna. What this is demonstrating is two things. One, that Nathan Phillips is a freaking parasite, if there ever was one. I mean, if that wasn't already obvious. I mean, it is probably worth it to spell it out. But anyways,
And
the
two, I'm an edgy boy, so I'm into stuff like that.
well, I mean
Can you
that's
post that
true
here?
also. But and three, never apologize to these people. Never apologize. Even if you actually did something wrong. Now, don't get me wrong. No, don't mistake me. Apologies are good. They are warranted. But there are certain groups of people, namely social justice warriors, who you should never, ever, apologize to. They will take that. They will take that moment of weakness, and as Emma Gonzalez said, they will take a mile. Oh no, that wasn't her. That was someone else at the gun control rally.
Blonde hair. It was generic blonde hair girl number 3.
Oh, that's right.
Can you post that clip in Discord so? But,
I love Scrollax.
I have that as my text notification.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, dubstep was a pretty horrible trend. I'm glad it's over.
Thank goodness. I mean, that was. I mean, we're kind of still stuck with it now. It's called Fortnite now.
It's
Well, now freaking
crackers.
yeah, now new metal's coming back, and I couldn't be happier.
New metal. I prefer our trap rap age going on here. Cause you get amazing people like Lil Pump that throw down really
Trap
sick
rap.
lines.
Boo.
Well, lines like Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang,
Those are some very compelling lyrics. It's like,
Gucci gang, Gucci gang.
I mean, the way you realize like what kind of existential like commentary is being made when he says Gucci. It's a
KFC gang.
KFC gang,
Hold on,
KFC gang, KFC gang, KFC gang.
Hold on, there's some really good lyrics that I'm trying to remember on the top of my head. Okay, here's some lyrics. I pulled the rubber off and I put hot sauce on her titties.
That is an amazing commentary on
That's
existence
another
itself.
That's another big part of the reason why I don't like trap rap, as well as just being a very disgusting sounding genre of music, is that fucking all of the bigger artists, just all the underground ones, are just complete fucktards. They don't know. They're so fucking dumb, and their lyrics are so fucking retarded.
Oh yeah, this one is all these VVS nigga, my sperm worth millions.
What the hell?
My favorite line that I've ever heard it in a song, just because it was so shocking, was that Biggie Smalls, and it was, I once knew a homie that kidnapped kids, fucked him in the ass, and threw him over the bridge.
What?
Yeah, and I heard that, I was like, holy shit, that actually got into a song.
I guess it did. But I mean, like, at least it's a bit more sophisticated
And
than
it
the
was-
kind of.
I wondered, like, is there a subreddit for dumb rap lyrics?
There must be. I'm
Hold
gonna
on,
look.
let me-
I'm gonna look this up.
I'm doing it.
Because yeah, you could create a subreddit out of this shit.
I think there might be. Oh, there's an article by BuzzFeed that says 22 dumb rap lyrics about Asian people.
Oh fucking.
There's a.
Oh wait, wait, no, it's just a.
No,
Wait,
these are
come-
just.
Get the fuck out of here. Wait, oh my
20
I mean,
minutes.
of course, there are the classics. These aren't necessarily trap rap, but yeah, there's insane clown posses, fucking magnets. How do they work? And
Oh yeah. Okay, here's some. One of them was Chris Brown was she accidentally slip and fall on my dick.
I found a list from SequoiaAtivist.com. Top 50 worst rap lyrics.
Oh, here's one. She got a big booty, so they call her Big Booty by 2 Chainz.
that is the most thought-provoking line I've ever.
Oh no, here's the best one. It's by Nicki Minaj. You a stupid hoe. You a stupid hoe. You a stupid
Everyone
hoe.
knows that one. Come
You,
on.
you.
All right,
I can't remember.
ready for this? Always been about them horizontal lines through them S's. That's a $sign.
These fucking people.
I mean, A horizontal? Have you seen what a dollar sign looks like? Have you seen them?
A horizontal lines.
Cause chances are never given they are toucan like interceptions.
Toucan.
Like they are toucan. I don't know if this is a it's Tooken. I don't know if that's a typo or what, but
I don't want to hear the original. So
Cut you up and gut you like a fucking avocado.
huh?
Yeah, I don't I don't get it.
where'd that come from?
No idea.
It said falling in reverse, but I
Oh,
guess that's the name of the song, not the artist.
All right,
yeah.
so I think we should get to our last article.
Yeah.
All right,
clicked
so
it.
I can't spell so sober because I'm a smoker.
a convenient killing of U.S. troops in Syria. So if you guys recall, a few days ago, or I think it was like a few weeks ago, Trump announced that the U.S. was pulling troops out of Syria, which is around 2,000 to 6,000, depending on what article you read, which actually was a bit of a surprise to me because I didn't even know we had troops in Syria. I always just assumed that we just had planes doing sorties because of reasons, and we also had ISIS basically being the U.S.'s proxy in Syria. But
Now, I mean, here's the really interesting thing is that 3 troops, and this is being reported all over the mainstream media, by the way. 3 troops were killed in a suicide bombing, supposedly, in Syria. Now, firstly, I thought we were out of Syria already. So, apparently, according to, Trump's, we were out. But, I mean, clearly you've got soldiers that are still in there, so this contradicts that narrative. But also, we were doing the U.S. military was doing a ton of shit in Syria. Like, they were just bombing indiscriminately and then trying to blame Assad. We then, over Thanksgiving, they poured white phosphorus on allied territory. Hell, most people don't even know that there is a conflict going on in Syria right now because of how little the media ever says anything about it. And now all of a sudden, 3 soldiers get killed in a suicide bombing, and it's all over the mainstream media. That is fucking incredibly suspicious.
How many before this? How many suicide bombings killed Americans in Syria for like the last 2, 3, 4 years of the Syrian civil war?
Well,
I have no idea.
Like, you never heard about it. Like, I don't want to say it didn't happen, but I didn't see anything like it. But then we have this, like, conveniently timed.
Yeah, it probably happened. Like, don't get any of us wrong, but it's just it never, like, it's clearly this is getting mainstream coverage for a reason, because they would never even cover most of the stories coming out of Syria in mainstream media. And if they do, it's generally to try and run propaganda because they're getting a lot of flack for something like pouring white phosphorate on a bunch of women and children in Allied territory.
I think it's well, you've already seen like what the response is given by U.S. officials like John Bolton, where he's just like, "Oh, this is the worst thing ever."
The media didn't even touch that one, so
they probably didn't touch it, but you can already see it's like the usual suspects in terms of the neocon warhawks who demand that everybody else's children fight and die for a cause we believe in because my fifis were hurt. I don't like seeing Americans killed in pointless conflicts. Oh, so we gotta put more Americans in harm's way to alleviate my personal anxiety. That seems to be the usual neocon response, which is to say that they want more troops in Syria. They want more. They think this is the basis by which they can oppose Trump's troop pullout in Syria. Which, I mean, they can try, but they're not justified in doing so at all. We shouldn't even be there in the first place.
We shouldn't.
But yeah, they're gonna try. You've already heard people talking about, and I've even seen people talking about this in real life, that people think like if we pull out of Syria, it's going to be the new Iraq. That it's just going to create this massive power vacuum that ISIS is eventually going to overtake.
What?
Yes, I've actually heard people say that. And I've had to explain to them, like, look, the reason that Iraq had a power vacuum is because we toppled their government, and our occupation basically became their government. Once we pulled out, of course there was a huge power vacuum. Syria still has a government. There's not going to be a power vacuum.
That's so stupid.
Like, literally, the people we're afraid of taking over in Syria are not only on the verge of being wiped out by the Syrian government and Russia, but they're actually being supported by the U.S. as our proxies. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This has been proven over and over again.
I mean, I know where they're getting it, though, because a few of the times that I've heard any of the panelists talk about Syria on Fox, like when they started talking about Trump pulling out of Syria, which most people's reaction to that was, wait, we had the military, the U.S. had the military in Syria? Yeah, that was the majority of their reaction, but yeah, some of the panelists were saying, basically that if we pulled out of Syria, that there was going to be a giant power vacuum. So it's just propaganda that they're regurgitating, essentially, not thinking about what they're saying.
I'm curious where it's coming from, because, I mean, they couldn't. I don't know if they're listening to Fox News or not, the people I've been talking to, but it's like, what's going? It strikes me as incredibly suspicious.
ISIS 2 just emerges.
If ISIS is so good, why isn't there ISIS 2? Well, ISIS, as someone pointed out in the comments, ISIS is about to become was. So there's really no issue. The fact of the matter is, like, but for U.S. involvement, there wouldn't be the Syrian civil war would probably have ended a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the U.S. is probably going to have to retool its focus to focus more on committing genocide against the Yemenis.
Against the Sand People?
Against the other Sand People, in support of their psychotic allies in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, which that's currently going on right now. We have U.S. troops in Yemen right now. Not too long ago, they moved the U.S. Military flew but a couple, like 100 troops into the Congo, which I don't know if you guys have heard any more about that, but I've heard occasionally, like, brief things on some alternative media sites like Free Thought Project, that there are some brewing tensions in, like, South Central Africa. So I think that's the reason why they're going there. Something is being instigated, which we'll see in the following months.
Well, that's curious. Why would the U.S. What interest did the U.S. have in instigating a foreign conflict in Africa, of all places, other than possibly because China has has some very strong influence in the region, and the conflict they're trying to stir up is simply to try to dislodge the Chinese, in which case it's incredibly ham-handed and absurd.
Well, the Congo, they have a very large mineral reserve. They have a very large they have very large deposits of diamonds and some other valuable minerals which they export.
Oh.
So that could be why the U.S. is trying to get involved in starting political conflicts with the Congo, because They want to occupy some of the mines down there, or put in a government which is going to create trade policies with the U.S. that's favorable to our government.
That's usually very strange because the U.S.'s interest foreign policy typically has nothing to do with the actual resources themselves, but rather how these resources
Oil.
are exchanged. Which, I mean, it makes sense like why the U.S. would want to instigate civil wars and escalate tensions in an area that's
Well,
largely under
that's
Chinese
what I said.
influence, because Chinese are definitely going to be trading outside of the petrodollar.
Well, that's what I said. The U.S. is potentially trying to implement regime change in the Congo so that they could implement a government which will create trade policies which is more favorable to our government.
So not only are they after the oil, they're after the diamonds. That's good to know.
Yep. The term blood diamonds is a thing. I think it's appropriate. Especially when the US gets involved, because the US makes everything better. I mean, if you listen to conservatives, you would think that the US has been nothing but a force for good since forever.
I still remember it was a tweet by Charlie Kirk saying that America is the most nicest, gentlest nation in the world.
I'm
Yeah.
sure
Okay.
I'm sure the thousands of Iraqi children who starved to death because of US embargoes were all too happy to enjoy the kindness and gentleness of US foreign policy.
Charlie Kirk has the historical intelligence of a 6-year-old.
Well, I think most of these boomer conservatives and neocons are going to follow that way.
If it were me a year ago, I probably would have said the same thing. But glad I don't.
Honestly, I think the Vietnam War should have continued and should have escalated, if only to cull the boomer population a little bit more.
Hey, just so you know, we've been streaming for over an hour, and
Yeah.
apparently Ghost from True Capitalist Radio is live right now, and he's taking calls.
All right, so let's wrap up the stream.
There's one quick Florida Man article we have to do. Real quick, it's Florida Man drops down pants and sodomizes pink flamingo to death.
Yeah, no.
I think I've heard that one actually.
I haven't heard of it. I just came across it. That dude looks like a type of guy that would fuck a flamingo to death.
Yeah. Well, anyways, we should wrap it up. Thank you everyone for stopping by the stream. Thank you again for the donations, and we'll see you hopefully on Friday. Good night, everyone.
Or not.